After a painstakingly drawn-out month, the infamous Starbreeze Strike team has finally made their plans for bringing Payday 3 back from the brink public. I'm not here to talk about all the corporate filibustering that must have taken place over the past few weeks, delaying this announcement to the point that many in the community started to doubt if this Strike team was the real deal. No, today, we're here to celebrate what could be a second chance for Payday 3, as just about every community-requested feature is being given the proper time of day, as Starbreeze have announced their intention to pivot almost entirely from the many miserable functionality and gameplay aspects that have maligned the game since launch. Aptly named Operation Medic Bag is the team's first and only chance to win back the trust of the community and start moving those player numbers in the right direction. And I'm going to walk you through every upcoming change, giving you the juicy details on everything from a soon-to-be implemented offline mode to a completely reimagined progression system with challenges going out the window. Are we back? That I refuse to comment on until I actually see these features implemented in the game. I was far too hasty to lavish Payday 3 with praise prior to launch without knowing all the potential pitfalls, and I won't be jumping the gun this time. What I will say is that this complete overhaul is absolutely a necessity if the game's ever going to succeed to the extent we initially hoped, and these all seem like hugely positive steps in moving that needle in the right direction. But with a bit of a wishy-washy timeline and still a few decisions up in the air, we're going to need to put a little more blind faith in the guys at Starbreeze for the time being. That said, let's start with the real juicy bits, and offline mode is coming to Payday 3. I didn't think I'd see the day when those words would cross my lips in a serious capacity, but here we are, victorious. This is huge for so many reasons, not least because we can now play and enjoy the game solo without needing to worry about our connection to some server miles away. However, it's not going to come to the game in the same capacity as Payday 2's offline mode. This is something that will start a bit of a trend with these upcoming changes to Payday 3 that might help to explain why Starbreeze have been hesitant to make these additions up until now. Most things come with a compromise, and for offline it's the sanctity of player progression and to some degree cheat protection. That's why the implementation of the offline mode is going to come in stages. First, we'll gain the ability to circumvent the matchmaking process, hosting games locally on our own machines and avoiding having to connect to a potentially high-ping server. This will hopefully streamline the process of starting a solo heist and avoid any inexplicable lag when playing alone. Unfortunately, you will still require an online connection to the Payday 3 backend systems for progression and unlocks to function, meaning you'll be playing offline in theory, but will need to retain online connectivity for it to mean anything. That's only phase 1 of the offline mode rollout though, as the plans to develop this further, allowing you to play out fully offline play sessions that only need to briefly connect to the backend to upload progress, that's still ultimately stored server-side. It's a bit of a compromise, and it still seems to be a tenuous measure to prevent wholesale cheating, which I personally believe to be a losing battle, but this is still a tremendous step in the right direction that I cannot wait to see functioning in-game. At least by finally chipping away at the old "it's on the table" stance, with gradual changes such as these, we can begin to shape the game as we, the community, want it to end up. The yin to the solo player's yang though is of course improved matchmaking. Anyone who wants Payday 3 to work as a co-op experience has been championing the existence of a server browser alongside a multitude of additional quality of life features, which it sounds like we're finally getting. As it stands, finding a heist in Payday 3 is almost impossible, with 44 different potential queues depending on your heist stipulations. In the immediate term, it looks as if the team are going to try and support the current system with a quick play function, allowing you to reliably matchmake with other online players without having to go through the current heist selection guessing game. This looks to just be a band-aid solution though, as later in the year the team are planning to bring back the CrimeNet style server browser we know and love. My hope is that a proper browser can completely streamline the heist finding process, allowing us to play the game together for longer, building up a more active and online community once again. Also, this new CrimeNet should absolutely include filters, meaning at long last, stealth and loud mains will finally be kept away from each other's throats. Alongside this major new addition, which still baffles me as one of Payday 3's largest dev oversights, we're told the game will be receiving a vote kick function, an unready button at long last, and the ability to merge lobbies into a heist party at the end of any match. That last feature has always been key to the Payday franchise, saving time on matchmaking and enabling you to keep heisting with the same group of players repeatedly, building up a proper rapport with them. Quietly, I actually think this lack of online functionality was as responsible for the player-based drop-off as the lack of content was, so let me tell you, I am relieved this is being addressed, and that CrimeNet is no longer a taboo phrase. If I just asked the community though, I bet they'd say that one of the most complained about features Payday 3 launched with was progression. Pure challenge progression was always a misguided mistake in my opinion, but I didn't hate the hybrid approach following Update 2. However, I think challenges in Payday 3 are just a poison chalice at this point, and trying to sell them to the wider community is a waste of energy. It seems Starbreeze now agrees with me as they're doing away with the system altogether. Level progress will now be dictated purely by heist completions, as it was back in Payday 2, and as a result, infamy payouts will now be rebalanced, with per bag scaling and new bonuses being added to properly reward us for our success within each specific heist, not just time spent in the big bathroom. I am glad challenges aren't completely gone though, as it seems that daily and weekly side jobs will be returning in the future, and the fragments of the framework that did work will be repurposed into a way to earn extra hardcore cosmetic rewards, instead of being the entire basis of progressing in the game. Ticking another major box, it also seems the UI is getting a much needed revamp. Honestly, if they can just come close to what JC Muerte has accomplished with their redesign over on the subreddit, we'll be onto something special. Personally, I think it's key that the game gives a bit of that trademark Payday gang personality at all times, which it simply isn't doing with its generic menus and clunky at best interfaces. If the game is really going to have a new lease of life in 2024, it really needs a new coat of paint to go along with it, or I don't see many people getting far enough in the game to actually try out the new features. Again, the jury's out on this one as it hasn't gotten much further than on the table, but at least it's being openly discussed at this point and it's clear the team isn't happy with what we currently have. None of this would really do much to bring players back if it didn't also come with the promise of new content though. Of course, we know that we're getting 3 more DLC packs releasing this year, although it's nice to see the Strike team recognising that Syntax Error was overpriced relative to the content it brought. Obviously, it's a tough balancing act making Gold and Silver Edition holders happy, as well as new prospective consumers, but my advice would be that no one's going to be mad if we get more value for our cash in each DLC, even if it's not possible to directly lower the price. Alongside the paid content, we can also expect at least one free heist this year, which I believe will be an entirely new experience, as well as new skill trees, cosmetics, and crucially free weaponry. Heavy weapons enthusiasts will be delighted to hear that we'll be receiving the game's first LMG class weapon for free later this year, and even better, it will be for our primary slot, not limited to being an overkill weapon. I just heard body expertise stoic players from Payday 2 breathe a collective sigh of relief. Obviously, these larger content drops should be accompanied by more frequent content additions to the game to feel truly alive and actively developed, but I can appreciate why the Strike team haven't gone into much detail here, with the focus rightly being on those huge functionality changes, such as with offline and matchmaking. A couple of interesting upcoming additions are the new rotating stealth modifiers, which suggest that on a daily or weekly basis heists will change up their modifiers, so maybe the lead guard will make it onto Golden Shark, and finally I might be able to complete No Rest for the Wicked without being harassed by him at all times. Hopefully these drop alongside some loud modifiers to spice up that gameplay style too, as that would really address some of the replayability issues I'm running into. I'm also happy to see improvements coming to the communication wheel, which is a neat concept that's underutilized in practice. This will hopefully come alongside full voice chat additions, as that was a highlighted objective in the teamwork and co-op overview. Finally, there are a few hard to categorize upcoming additions set out by the Project Medic Bag action plan that I feel are worth highlighting. For console players, controller functionality and dead zone fixes are going to be huge, just from a pure playability standpoint, and not being able to rename loadouts is a crazy oversight that I'm glad to see finally addressed on paper. I expect these sorts of fixes to come within the next couple of weeks as a bit of a showcase of the resolve that's going to be required to roll out an action plan as ambitious as this one. I noticed that the main casualty of these sweeping changes is that the Unreal 5 upgrade plans have now been shelved, at least for the time being. This seems like a wise call, as it's hardly a deal breaker for most in the community and would probably just be an unnecessary distraction for the time being. Another casualty, at least as far as the corpos and suits will be concerned, is that the microtransaction store is being held at bay for at least this calendar year. For those of us against gouging what's left of the player base for all their worth, this is bloody great news, and is at least a step in the right direction towards winning back the respect and trust of the community. My hope is that this extra 12 months either gives them the time and clarity necessary to realise that Payday 3 needs an MTX store like a bullet to the brain, or at the very least they take some inspiration from the likes of Helldivers 2, which is being heavily praised for its reasonable live service store. That said, Operation Medic Bag is everything we've been asking for and a little more, but at the moment it's just words on a screen. Once the tides start to change and I see these features implemented in-game, I'll be much more willing to get excited for Payday's future once more. once bitten, twice shy and all that. But at the very least, these do look like the blueprints of a very fixed and functional Payday 3 if the team are given the time and resources to realise them over the next 12 months. We can only hope, and if you're as invested in the wild ride Payday 3's on as I am in the coming weeks, there are a few ways you can stay in the loop. First, check out the blog post, it's where I derive most of the information I shared in this video. Stay tuned on that site as there's going to be a Payday 3 development blog releasing more frequently to cover the mid and long term changes in greater detail. Also, there's going to be a Reddit AMA happening later this week, so head on to the best Steam chart posting and table meme making site in the entire internet to ask your questions of the devs. From my conversation with them, they're ready to take all the hardball questions you have to toss their way, so long as you're respectful in how you ask them. Personally, this has rekindled a spark of optimism in me, but follow through is everything at this point. After 2 months of very little, I'm hopeful February will also bring some juicy content, and as a Starbreeze partner, I am already involved in playtesting and balanced discussion around some fairly sizable update content we can all look forward to. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to check out Apex Gaming PCs. I no longer have a discount specific to my code, however my entire range of PCs are on a massive 30% discount from here on out, so there's never been a better time to buy if the prices put you off in the past. Take care, more Payday content coming in the next week. I'll see you all then. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.